Do you believe that even a single accidental lie can destroy an entire life? Sophia never imagined that it would be her own sister Lena who would push her over the edge. On that fateful day, a necklace disappeared. Just a small item, yet enough to stir a storm in what seemed to be a peaceful family. No evidence, no witnesses, just one cold statement. It was Sophia who took it, and just like that, fate was rewritten. Cast out by her parents, her honor crushed, Sophia wandered in loneliness and shame. But what no one expected was that the truth lay in a place no one dared to look. And from the depths of pain, something miraculous began to grow. This isn't just a story about betrayal. It's a story about resilience, about justice that arrives late, but arrives nonetheless, and about an ending so powerful even the cruelest hearts must bow before it. Are you ready to hear the truth? That morning was just like any other. No one in Sophia's family could have guessed that within hours the peace they knew would shatter like glass. Gentle sunlight streamed through the curtains, casting a warm glow on the dining table where Sophia's mother was placing spotless white porcelain plates. Lena, Sophia's older sister, was getting ready for university, and Sophia had just finished breakfast, prepared to head to her job at the nearby bookstore. Everything was calm, until Lena's piercing scream echoed from her bedroom. "My necklace, Mom! My gold necklace is gone!" Their mother rushed upstairs immediately. Their father put down his newspaper, frowning. Sophia stood at the foot of the stairs, confused and startled. Less than a minute later, the entire family was gathered in Lena's room. Nothing appeared ransacked, no sign of forced entry. The room remained tidy, save for one open jewelry box, completely empty. "I left the necklace right here last night," Lena sobbed, her voice cracking. "The one you gave me for my birthday, Mom. How could it just vanish?" Their father spoke sternly. "Did anyone else come into your room?" Lena shot a quick glance at Sophia, then looked down. A heavy silence fell. Then, in a slow, cold voice, Lena said, "This morning, only Sophia came in to borrow a book." Sophia felt her heart stop. "What are you saying?" "I just came to borrow that novel you recommended yesterday," she cried out, panic rising. But doubt had already begun to spread. Their mother furrowed her brow. Their father folded his arms. Lena acted as though she didn't want to accuse anyone directly, but her silence was sharper than any accusation. "Tell us the truth, Sophia. Did you take it?" Her mother's voice trembled as if she didn't even believe herself. "No, I would never do that. She's my sister." Sophia burst into tears, unable to believe she had to defend something so obvious. Her father, a strict man who held honor above all, stood and lowered his voice. "If you didn't take it, then why were you the only one in that room this morning? No one else went up there." "So just because I was the last person there, I'm guilty. That's not fair," she choked out. No one answered. The room was filled with silent suspicion and heartbreak. Lena sat down and covered her face, pretending to cry, like she was the real victim. Sophia tried to explain, recounting every innocent step she had taken, but her words vanished against the thick wall of silence and judgment. All those years of being a good daughter, helping her parents, never causing trouble, suddenly meant nothing. Finally, her father made a decision. "If you won't admit the truth, then you must leave. We cannot live under the same roof with someone who's dishonest." Sophia was frozen. Her mother sobbed quietly, turning her face away, unable to look her in the eye. Lena kept her head down, but at the corner of her lips, there was a flicker of a barely visible smile. A small suitcase was stuffed with a few clothes. Sophia had nowhere to go, no one to trust. She stepped out of the only home she had ever known, with nothing but empty hands and a bleeding heart. Neighbors whispered, rumors spread like wildfire. That girl's greedy, stole her sister's necklace. Unbelievable, she used to be so polite. Maybe her family was just too poor. Sophia lived in shame and pain. She rented a tiny room in a working-class neighborhood. She worked 2 jobs by day and cried herself to sleep at night. But no matter how much she suffered, she swore to herself, "I'm not guilty. I didn't steal anything. The truth will come out." She began to recall every detail of that morning. She never touched the jewelry box. She clearly remembered Lena leaving the house briefly and coming back later, something no one ever mentioned. Sophia began to wonder, could Lena have planned this all along? But why? Why would she do this to her own sister? The truth was buried, but not destroyed. And in that silence, something had begun to stir. The city was as bustling as ever, crowded traffic, people in a hurry. But in a cramped, rented room in a working-class neighborhood, Sophia's life felt buried in silence and tears. No more soft bed, no more smell of her mom's fresh-baked bread each morning, no more laughter echoing through the house. Instead, there was the noise of construction outside, the musty smell of old walls, and a loneliness so deep it chilled the soul. The girl who once lived surrounded by family love was now utterly alone, carrying a burden no one understood. On her first day back at work after everything fell apart, Sophia went to the bookstore where she used to work part-time while still living at home. The owner, a woman in her 40s named Mrs. Nan, was strict but fair. When she saw Sophia walk in with dark circles under her eyes and a tired face, she only asked briefly, "Still want to work here?" Sophia nodded, saying nothing more. She didn't want pity. She just wanted to stand on her own 2 feet. The days that followed were filled with endless labor. During the day, she worked at the bookstore. At night, she washed dishes for a small diner. She learned to save every penny, ate cold rice, and drank plain water, never dared to fall sick, never dared to be tired. But one thing Sophia never lost was her kindness. She still helped the cranky old neighbor walk around, still shared her bread with the barefoot kids selling lottery tickets, even when she was starving. She still greeted people politely, even if they looked at her with indifference. One rainy night, while Sophia was rolling up her sleeves to tackle a mountain of dirty dishes, she heard a loud crash at the restaurant's door. An old blind man soaking wet was fumbling his way in. The owner frowned. "Him again? Always coming in for food." No one said anything. The staff ignored him. But Sophia quietly took a portion of leftover rice, brought it out gently, set it in front of the man and said, "I don't have much, but I hope this helps a little." The old man turned his face toward her. Though blind, his eyes seemed deep and understanding. He nodded slightly, lips moving with words Sophia couldn't quite hear. Then he pulled a small object wrapped in a tattered cloth from his pocket, placed it on the table. "Take this. Thank you for your kindness." Sophia panicked and waved her hands. "No, sir, I didn't do it for anything. I just didn't want you to go hungry." But the old man smiled. "Not everyone does the right thing when they're hurting, but you did. Keep it." Then he turned and walked into the rain, leaving Sophia standing there confused, holding the wrapped object. When she opened it, she was stunned, an old gold ring engraved with a strange Latin inscription. She rushed outside to find the old man, but his silhouette had already vanished into the storm like a ghost. No one at the restaurant had gotten a good look at his face. One of the kitchen helpers said, "He was weird, like he didn't belong to this world." Sophia held the ring in her hand, unsure of what to do with it. But from that day on, everything began to change. Mrs. Nan, usually strict and distant, started to notice Sophia more. She began trusting her with more important tasks, like inventory and bookkeeping. One night, seeing Sophia still working late, she silently handed her a bag of food. "Eat. Don't starve to death in here." Not long after, a new customer came to the bookstore, a classy, elegant woman. She was searching for old books written in Latin. While helping her look, Sophia casually mentioned the ring and its mysterious inscription. The woman froze. "What did you say? A ring engraved in Latin? Can you show it to me?" Sophia hesitated but eventually agreed. When the woman saw the ring, her eyes widened in shock. This is a ring from the Everin family. It went missing over 20 years ago. Do you have any idea how valuable this is?" Sophia was bewildered. "I only got it from a blind old man the other night." The woman stared into her eyes, then suddenly took her hand, her voice trembling. "You're not just anyone. Your heart brought this to you. Not just the ring, but your destiny." Sophia didn't fully understand what was happening, but she felt as if some invisible force was guiding her out of the darkness of injustice toward a light she once believed was gone forever. In life's darkest moments, sometimes just one act of kindness can ignite a torch of hope. And Sophia's goodness, humble and quiet, became the first spark to illuminate the journey ahead. Since that strange encounter with the blind old man on a rainy night, Sophia's life began to shift course. The Latin-engraved ring, which seemed worthless at first, didn't just trigger a series of new events. It became a symbol of something sacred, as if the old man were a messenger of fate, delivering to her the key to destiny. The elegant woman from that day, Madame Vivienne, returned to the bookstore several times afterward. She wasn't just interested in Latin books, but seemed particularly attentive to Sophia. One day she asked, "What's the highest level of education you completed?" "High school," Sophia replied, lowering her gaze. "I once dreamed of studying literature in college, but things happened in my family. I couldn't afford it." Madame Vivienne fell silent, her eyes reflecting a mix of sympathy and admiration. A few days later, she returned unexpectedly with a leather business card embossed in gold. On it was the name of an organization, the Everin Foundation, igniting opportunities for youth. "Sophia, I'm a co-founder of this scholarship fund. If you're willing, I'd like to nominate you for a special 3-month program. It's designed for young people who've faced hardship but have the potential to rise." Sophia froze. She had never dared to dream of such an opportunity, but deep inside a cautious voice held her back. She had been hurt too many times to trust hope blindly. "But why me?" Madame Vivienne smiled warmly, her eyes gentle. "Because you were the only one willing to share your last meal with a blind old man. Because even in poverty, you didn't lose your kindness. People like you are the foundation of a more just society." For the first time in months of living in darkness, Sophia cried not from injustice, but from gratitude. She said yes. The next 3 months were far from easy. The intensive course hosted by the foundation wasn't just about academics, it was a transformative journey. She relearned communication skills, emotional management, critical thinking, and even basic tech and financial literacy. There were moments when Sophia felt exhausted, on the verge of giving up. But each time she remembered her cold rented room, her father's indifferent gaze, and that blind man in the rain. She couldn't go back to being weak. After completing the program, she was offered an internship at a publishing company, right in the field she had once dreamed of. By then, no one saw a frail, struggling girl anymore, but a confident, articulate, and composed young woman. She was assigned to edit manuscripts and help organize book launch events. At a press conference for a new book, Sophia was unexpectedly invited to speak as a young editor. Her voice, clear, sincere, and thoughtful, caught the attention of many. After that day, she received a message from a media organization that was seeking writers for their Life and Resilience column. They told her, "You don't just have the words, you have the story." So Sophia began to write, not from imagination but from her own life. Her articles told stories of ordinary people. The lottery ticket seller who still gave candy to kids, the old man who fixed bikes for students for free, or the girl who was falsely accused but chose to live with kindness. Each article was a fragment of memory, each word distilled from tears. Sophia's name gradually gained recognition. Few knew the details of her past, but readers could feel the truth, the compassion, and the vitality in every sentence she wrote. Then one early spring day, as Sophia was revising the manuscript of her first book, a short story collection inspired by kindness and forgiveness, she received a strange message. It came from an unsaved number. "Are you Sophia? If so, I want to meet you. It's me, Lena." She froze. Her eyes locked on the screen. Her hands trembled. That name, Lena, was like an old blade reopening a wound that had never fully healed. But now Sophia was no longer the girl who was kicked out of her home with a small suitcase. She took a deep breath. What she felt wasn't anger, but a question: why is she texting me now? And could the truth finally be coming to light? The door to destiny had opened. But what lay on the other side, light, or once again darkness, Sophia didn't yet know. But she was ready to face it, with the courage and kindness she had never lost. The message from Lena was like a sharp needle piercing straight into the memories Sophia thought she had long buried. Since the day she was kicked out of the house, she hadn't heard that voice again, never imagined Lena would be the one to reach out first. She stared at the screen in silence, her finger hovering over the words, hesitating before quietly typing back, "Where do you want to meet?" 3 days later, in a small cafe tucked away in the city center, the two sisters, once bound by blood, sat across from each other. The tension was so thick, it felt like a single wrong word could shatter everything. Sophia was no longer the timid, frail girl of the past. She sat upright, her eyes calm but deep. Lena was still beautiful, still confident, but something had changed. There was a hint of weariness, a shadow of remorse. "You've changed so much, Sophia." Lena spoke first, her voice shaky. "What do you want from me?" Sophia didn't beat around the bush. Lena looked down, taking a deep breath. "I want to apologize." Sophia stayed silent. "That year, the gold necklace, it wasn't you who took it. It was me. I accidentally dropped it down the drain behind the house, but I was afraid of getting scolded by Mom and Dad, so I lied. I blamed you." Sophia didn't respond. Her heart pounded. Deep down, she had always known she was innocent, but hearing it from her own sister's mouth was like being stabbed all over again. Only this time, there was no blood, just a sudden coldness spreading through her chest. After that, things spiraled out of control. You were thrown out. Mom and Dad were angry, but they believed me. I wanted to confess, many times. But every time I tried to speak, I got scared. Sophia looked at her sister for a long time. Then she asked softly but sharply, "Scared of losing their trust? Or scared of losing everything?" Lena hung her head. It was the first time Sophia saw her cry, tears no longer painted with pride, but filled with genuine remorse. "I was wrong. I've lived with guilt for all these years. Dad passed away 2 years ago from illness. Mom is frail now. She often talks about you. Do you still hate me?" Sophia didn't answer right away. She thought about the nights she slept in parks, the times her stomach ached with hunger, the tears she shed in the rain when the world turned its back on her. It all began with her sister's lie. But then she remembered the blind old man, Madame Vivienne the Ring, and the opportunity to rise from the bottom. If she hadn't been cast out of that house, would she have found the strength to rebuild herself? She answered slowly, "I don't hate you, but forgiveness doesn't come easy." Lena nodded tearfully. "I'm not asking for forgiveness. I just wanted to tell the truth. And if you want, Mom's still waiting for you. She's been reading your articles. She knows it's you. She cries a lot." Sophia was stunned. "Mom reads my work." "Yes, every story about kindness, about people wrongly blamed but still living with integrity. She reads them all. She knows it's you. She feels guilty." Sophia turned to the window. Spring rain had begun to fall, soft like tears. She didn't know whether to feel happy or sad. All she knew was that she had never stopped thinking about her mother, but she had never dared dream of going back. Finally, Lena took a small box from her bag and handed it to Sophia. "This, I found in one of Dad's old drawers. It's a letter he wrote to you, but never sent. I thought you should read it." Sophia opened the box. Inside was a yellowed piece of paper, the handwriting unmistakable. Her heart clenched. "Sophia, if you're reading this letter, it means you've made it through the storm. I know I was wrong back then, not listening to you, not believing in you. I lost my daughter the moment I failed you. If I could have one wish, it would be to hug you again and say I'm sorry." Sophia broke down in tears. At that moment, all the pain, resentment, and anguish inside her burst free. But with it, something else escaped too. A weight lifted off her chest, as if all the years of burden were finally released. She wasn't sure she had forgiven, but she knew she had let go. 3 weeks later, Sophia returned to visit her mother. Her mother had aged frail and worn, but when she saw Sophia walk in, it was as if life returned to her. She fell to her knees, grabbed her daughter's hands, and cried like a child. No words were needed, just the look in their eyes, and a tight embrace was enough to erase the years apart. That day, the three of them, mother and daughters, hugged each other on the porch under blooming bougainvillea. Sophia had come home, not as someone defeated, but as someone victorious. Not victorious over Lena, but victorious over herself. Sophia returned to the city no longer as an anonymous girl quietly writing on a blog. The fateful meeting with Lena, the letter from her late father, and the weak but loving embrace of her mother closed an old chapter and opened a new one, where Sophia no longer lived to prove her innocence, but to lead the way for others. After that return, everything seemed to turn in ways she never expected. Her blog, Kindness Amidst Life, suddenly spread widely. Stories about good people in the shadows. The old woman selling vegetables who lets customers owe money without demanding it back. The bus driver patiently waiting every morning for disabled passengers. The child who found a lost wallet and biked 10 kilometers to return it. All were told in her simple yet deeply touching voice. A major editorial office approached Sophia, inviting her to become a regular inspirational columnist. A prestigious publisher also wanted to print her first book with a preface that read, "For those who have been misunderstood, abandoned, and have lived to tell their stories with a whole heart." But Sophia didn't stop at writing. She used her first royalty check to establish a scholarship fund named after her parents for poor students forced to drop out because of family issues. She returned to village schools, standing before hundreds of children sharing her own life story. A girl who once slept in a park, was wrongfully accused by her own sister, was starving, but still held on to one thing: faith and kindness. Not everyone will believe you. Not everyone is good, but you can choose to be different from them. Sophia's words became a popular quote in local textbooks, on posters and community campaigns, and on the covers of many major newspapers. A few years later, at a major humanities conference in Europe, Sophia was invited as the keynote speaker. She was introduced by a professor who once taught at Harvard. On a large stage before hundreds of scholars, students, and social activists, Sophia appeared. Her hair neatly tied, her face graceful, and her smile as gentle as a spring breeze. She began her speech with something that silenced the audience. "The day I was kicked out of my home, I was only 16. I begged for food, slept in public restrooms, and even sold blood for bread. But I met a blind man, and he taught me how to see." She told the story of the blind old man who saw nothing but gave her the brightest chance of her life, a lesson on unconditional giving. After her talk, countless young people came to shake her hand, some crying, others simply saying, "You saved me." Sophia never claimed to be a hero. She always said, "I only tell what I once wished to hear." One late winter afternoon, in the small house where her mother lived with Lena, Sophia came home. Lena had since left her business career to join Sophia in social work. After all these years, the two sisters finally sat together, no longer harboring storms within. Lena asked, "Did you ever think things would come this far?" Sophia looked out the window, the sunlight shining through blooming yellow chrysanthemums. "There was a time I didn't think about the future. I just thought about how to survive till tomorrow. But now it's different. I don't just want to survive. I want to leave something behind, something that helps others live better." Her mother, gray-haired but with bright eyes, came over and hugged her two daughters. She whispered, "Your father must be very proud." Sophia said nothing, only squeezed her mother's hand tighter. Finally, Sophia published her second book, titled "Forgiveness is a Gift to Yourself." In it, she fully told the story of the golden necklace from years ago, without hiding any names but without hate. It was a confession, a comfort, and a tribute to kindness. The book became a bestseller not just because of its content, but because it made readers reflect on themselves. It was taught in many high schools where students were asked, "If you were Lena, what would you do? If you were Sophia, would you forgive?" One late evening, standing on a hotel balcony in Dalat after a book signing, Sophia looked up at the sky, recalling every step of her journey. She whispered, "Thank you for making me fall, so I could learn to fly." A gentle breeze blew by, carrying the scent of cinnamon flowers. Sophia closed her eyes, breathed deeply, her heart as light as if it had never carried any resentment. The end. Sophia, from a girl falsely accused and abandoned, stepped out of the darkness not with hatred, but with the bright flame of kindness. She didn't change the world by force, but with her heart, and left behind a legacy nothing can erase. The belief that if just one person is good enough, the world will be a better place.